Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my vlog for The Way of Kings. So my copy's broken up into two. I want to jump in, so I'm filming this after. I've obviously read it. I now have all my tabs in it. But I wanted to jump in to give a little more context to the video you're about to see. So to start with, most importantly, this vlog is going to be mostly spoiler-free until the last little bit, and I let you know before it happens. But it's going to mostly be just about The Way of Kings, spoiler-free. I originally, when I was filming this, thought I was going to do the whole series in one video, but then I thought about it a little bit more. So my friends and I are doing Chaos-October this year, which is essentially we choose some just like crazy goal for what we want to read in the month of October, and mine was only Brandon Sanderson. So in that, I wanted to obviously read all of the Stormlight Archives that's out so far for the first time, but if I plan on doing that as one video, I basically will have nothing else to post for several weeks. So instead I'm going to break them up. They're all going to have their own video. So yes, you can definitely watch this one, even if you've never read it, up until, like I said, a certain point, which I will let you know. I will have other vlogs that come out later this month once I have finished the Stormlight Archives and I read some of his other works that will be spoiler-free again. So just keep a lookout, pay attention to whether or not my videos say spoiler-free or not, just give you an idea of what you are getting into. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe so that you can stay up to date on when I continue the series and other videos that I post throughout the month of October. Chaos-October! Now before I get into the fact that I am reading The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, this is definitely considered his masterpiece work. It is his epic that he has spent many, many years developing. And right now there are 4 books out. The 5th is coming out this December. So my friend Aaron, which you'll hear me reference him a couple times throughout this video, he does not have any sort of booktube. He's just my real life friend, but he is a huge Brandon Sanderson fan. So ever since about last November, we have been making our way through the Cosmereverse for my first time and his like 30th time, because we wanted me up to date with the new release. So just to give you a little context of where I'm at with the Brandon Sanderson-verse, I'm going to run through what we have read so far and just like a couple little thoughts on it. So the first series we started with, I let him choose where he wanted to start, where he wanted us to go. Even our future books, I'm just letting him decide because I don't really have an opinion, but I was happy we started with The Final Empire, the Mistborn series. I tabbed these. I loved these so much. I cried. I laughed. I love Vin so dearly. I love these. So The Final Empire and Mistborn consists of Book 1, which is The Final Empire, Book 2, which is The Well of Ascension, and then Book 3, which is The Hero of Ages. These are an earlier series that he wrote that has to do with a world where the Dark Lord won, and there are magic abilities that have to do with ingesting metals. This was just a really great introduction to the Brandon Sanderson writing universe, just because I think it's just really digestible. It's really engrossing with the characters, and while you get a lot of information, I don't think it's as intimidating as even my first time reading The Way of Kings. I was pretty scared getting through it. These, I think, are much more devourable in general. So yes, I absolutely love these. The whole series, I ended up going with 5 stars for them. Oh, love them. Then after that, he did have us read the short story for this one, which I believe is The Secret History, I think it was called. So we did read that one as well. And then we went ahead and we actually moved on to Mistborn Era 2. So the fun thing about the Mistborn series that I've learned, like a lot of my education has come from my friend teaching me. So the fun thing about this series and this world is we are going to see it go through different developmental ages. So the original Mistborn series definitely has like a high, more early to late medieval period. Like there are royalty and you know, structures and buildings, but it's definitely not very advanced, technologically speaking. Then you get to the Alloy of Law, Bands of Mourning, and Shadows of Self, and this definitely takes a turn where you start hitting more of a 1920s automobile age, so that's really fun. It was so interesting because I read the first Mistborn era as we were watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, so then after that to pick up these, I was also at the same time watching The Legend of Korra. So it was just really cool because I feel like the technology lined up to each era I was reading, so that was really fun. We have not read the 4th book yet. We plan on getting to that not long after Stormlight Archives. So then the only other book that we did read as well so far was Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. This is a standalone high fantasy about sisters and this magical world that has to do with breathing colors. And it was really, really good. I think I give this one a 5-star as well. I also just realized I told you nothing about this one, but it's kind of like a rapscallion western situation. It was so good. So this was just a really interesting standalone to read by him. It was just cool to see, you know, a difference in when he kind of confines his worlds and what information he needs to share versus another series where he doesn't hold back. You get a lot of information in these. With that though, that should kind of catch you up on where I'm at in the Cosmere verse. And I don't even know, I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of comments. I don't know if it's just Cosmere or Cosmere verse. I assume it's just Cosmere, but I am used to adding verse to the end of things, so I do that a lot on accident. I'm sorry. I will try to amend that in the future. But I really love these. I love the way my tabs look. I've been color coding them all. But yes, for these purposes and that really long intro, I hope you're still here. We are reading The Way of Kings, and I can't wait to tell you what I think. And yeah, let's just get into it now. Hi. So I very spontaneously decided to start this vlog because I am starting The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson for the first time. These are my UK copies, so it's actually the first book split in 2, so I do have the second part over on my bookshelves. I'm really excited. I just don't even know what to expect. I know this is considered like Brandon Sanderson's most successful series. We are trying to complete them for the new one coming out this December. So all of October I plan to read them, but right now it's early September and I want to get a head start. So I'll let you know when I know anything. Aaron said when I read the prelude, I would immediately be like, what's happening? What's happening? 4,500 years? Years? Hi. So, August is laying with me. I have finished part 1 of The Way of Kings. It's pretty late at night, but I really wanted to film this clip because I want to continue reading, and I just feel like I need to update before I continue on. So yes, I finished part 1 and I'm enjoying it so far. So, couple notes. My first thing I want to bring up is that there are these creatures throughout this book that are called, like, spren is like the end of the word that's used to describe them. So there's wind spren, there's logic spren, there's life spren. It's like all these little creatures spread throughout, and they remind me a lot of like a creature in a Studio Ghibli Miyazaki film situation. They're really cool. I like how they are kind of filtered throughout, and a lot of the characters that we've seen so far are like, you get 2 characters, I'll get into that in a second, but they mentioned that the spren aren't usually like very active in engaging with people. Like usually they just kind of exist, but they're not really bothered by or interacting with people. And there's one spren who has been following the main character Kaladin. He was some sort of leader in an army, and then he was forced into slavery. I'm not going to get into much about what happens, but it's still very early on. Like, you know, he's a slave in the description of the book, but he has this friend who's really kind of taken a notice to him and is kind of following him along and following him around. One thing that I found was super interesting is Kaladin almost immediately starts referring to the Spren as his Spren. Like, he has this sense of connection and, like, agency over it. I don't think it's, like, in a negative way. I think it's, like, an emotional attachment, so that's super interesting, and I just thought it was a cool observation that he connects so quickly to this creature that theoretically shouldn't be making a connection to him at all. So, talking about the plot in general, in so far as part 1, there's a prologue and an interlude that I'm still pretty confused by. Like, it was super interesting and I was engaged, but a lot happens and you're not supposed to really know what's going on yet. But then we follow our 2 main characters, Kaladin as well as Shallan. And Kaladin, as I just told you, slave, horrible, really fucked up situations happening. And then we have Shallan, whose father has died and has kind of left her family falling apart, like they cannot financially repair themselves. And so she has hatched this plan to steal from this really prominent figure in society, and so she wants to try and convince her to take her on as, I think, kind of like a page thing kind of situation where, like, she's going to learn from her and help her with her own studies, that kind of situation. And I won't say how that goes, but that's, like, where I'm at right now, is those 2 plots have just ended for this section. And immediately going into part 2, we're getting, it looks like, 3 new characters. I barely was just grasping what happened in the first 2, and I was like, oh yeah, I get this. I think I can handle this. And now I'm gonna be in a completely new set of heads and situations. So I'll check in when I can handle it. So Aaron is always saying how much he loves Kaladin. And I could successfully say, now that I'm about 25% in, there's not enough Kaladin chapters. I want all of these chapters to be Kaladin chapters. So, sorry if you didn't hear my dishwasher going, but I just finished part 2 of The Way of Kings. I'm really, really enjoying this still. I literally, like I said earlier, I feel like I can't put it down. Like, I just don't want to stop reading for any period of time. Very, very engaged, very addicted to the writing. In part 2, you are more exposed to the overarching war that is going on in this world and a bit more information on what started the war, how it's been going for about 6 years, as well as the land that the war is happening in. It's these really cool shattered plains where essentially it's a huge field or area of land with these chasms that have, like, these little bits of land, like, above, and then they're just, like, deep chasms below. And in there are these creatures. Pretty spooky. I don't want to get too much into it because I'm going to try and keep this part spoiler-free, the part for Way of Kings. You find out a little bit about the politics of one of the sides of the war, as well as, like, how things are kind of just, like, happening. Like, you're following this family who's very, very prominent in this war, and how they are being affected by new things that are popping up. So overall, really, really good. I don't know if that was a really good explanation, but one thing that I want to touch on is I do find it interesting how much Brandon Sanderson likes to write about sibling relationships, and especially brothers. A lot of his stories that I've read, at least so far, have a really big prominence on the familial relationship between brothers, and in different ways, like good relationships as well as strained relationships. And I think it's really interesting. I think most books have been like brothers. There was Warbreaker, which was more of a sister relationship, but I just think it's interesting that he likes to play on siblings. I don't really have anything, like, profound to say about that. I just realized it with this, and it's continuing to confirm that as we have a couple sets of siblings in this. Overall, like I said, I'm really enjoying it. I think the audiobook says I'm about 42% in. I have some theories based on some things that are happening of what connections could be made to other characters, but I genuinely, like, I feel like this book, even though it's so ginormous and there's so much going on, it still feels very central and confined, and I think that the next few books are going to really explode from there. But I'm gonna let you go because Charmin is freaking out over something. I feel like I'm playing Joke's on Me, Bailey's TBR game, because last night I finished The Way of Kings. You'd think I'd be done, I'd be excited, I'd be happy. Part 2. I am still excited, like I do look forward to this. I just can't believe how much I still have to read. This ended at about 53%, so I have like 47% left to read. I'm about to head out to work, which is why I am really happy that I finished this yesterday, because I didn't want to try and bring both of these to work with me, but I'm going to try and bring this one. I don't usually get the chance to read at work, so I don't really know how much progress I'll make. I'm there all day. But if I get the chance to update you, I'll let you know. I do have the audiobook, but I do like to tab this experience reading the Cosmoverse, so I'm not sure how much I'll be able to listen to because I want to follow along and focus with the book. All that to say, I gotta go to work. I finished the first half, and I will update you when I get a good chunk into this. Hello, it's the next day, and I have some wonderful, exciting, amazing news to share with you. I read nothing at work. I didn't even get to the point of being able to open my bag. We were so busy. So no reading was done, which is also sad because my audiobook is due in 2 hours. I can't read this amount in 2 hours, so I'm gonna return it early and just read the rest without it. I don't think it'll impact my enjoyment too much, since I at least got to get an idea of some of the voices and stuff, but I am looking forward to starting this. I'm doing sprints by myself this morning, which is just a little scary. It's nerve-wracking to go on camera by yourself in general, but then to have it live and to have to kind of fill those like 5-minute gaps by yourself can be intense. But I had some besties who said that they will either join in the chat or join in video later today, so that'll be good. But I'm going to start this. I have about 20 minutes left of this sprint, so I'm going to start with reading, and I'll check in periodically. Hi, so it's a little bit later in the same day, and I am about 80 pages into The Way of Kings Part 2. I've got a couple tabs new. The only thing I have to share is that I don't like Shallon. I don't like her chapters. I mean, I guess the chapters are at least interesting, and like I like what's going on, but I struggle to connect to characters that are religiously affiliated or that like care so much about their religion. She isn't a prominent figure in religion, so it's not like the entire section's about that, but I struggle with the way that she perceives others as a result of her religion, and there is discussion of that. I wouldn't say it's super heavy-handed, and I wouldn't say it's like crazy over impacting my enjoyment of it, but I'm not connecting to her. I'm struggling to, and it's just not my favorite thing. So I am going to keep reading because I do enjoy Kaladin sections, and like I said, I am at least intrigued by what's happening in her sections. But at this point, I'm not feeling much of a connection to her at all. I don't have much to add, but I'm in part 3. So I'll probably update you either when things start going crazy, maybe I'll record myself reading the last bit, or when I finished. I look like a sock again. But it's not a good day for me. So I plan on finishing The Way of Kings today. I have reading sprints that are going to start in about half an hour, and I'm going to do them at least until I finish this book, maybe even on to my next book, which is not for this vlog. Things are going down things are getting revealed, other things are not getting revealed, and I'm hooked. I am so hooked. I don't want to put this down. And I am just a wreck already. This ending, Brandon Sanderson's known for his banger endings, so let's get banged. I'm screaming. Ah! I'm getting really emotional. Like, these are happy tears over what's happening right now. And if something goes badly with this situation, I'm going to be absolutely devastated. Okay, I am officially advancing to the final part, part 5. Such a short part. Wow. The things that have happened in the last part of this book are absolutely insane. I'm going to continue to keep this part of the vlog, this book specifically, spoiler free. I cannot wait to talk to you about my feelings when I start discussing book 2. Wow. I have officially completed part 1 and part 2 of The Way of Kings. This was such a crazy adventure and such an entertaining read. I cannot exaggerate how little I wanted to put this book down this week. There were so many times that usually in the evenings my partner will play video games or we'll do something else, and I just spent the whole week unable to do anything but read. I mean, it was so amazing. I do think that I am going to give it a 5-star. I do think if you wanted me to elaborate on that, it would be closer to a 4.75, which is really picky and really annoying, I know. I am going to go with a 5, like I said. I think it was just a little dragged on in some spots. I wouldn't say it was to the overall detriment of the story. Like those little bits did not take away from my bigger enjoyment. I just feel like there were parts that, upon reflection, I just don't think needed to be as ongoing as they were. If I were to explain it that way, there's just some scenes that I just think did not necessarily need to happen as long or as they did. Overall, though, I can see why this has the praise that it does. And I'm going to take a little bit of a rest before I dive into Words of Radiance. I think that's book 2. I can't even imagine where the story is going to go. There are so many little plot things that, I wouldn't say so many that feel open-ended or or that there's not so many parts that feel incomplete or unfinished. Incomplete or unfinished. But what I have to look forward to, there's still plenty of that. So I'm really, really excited. This, again, will be the end of the spoiler-free version. I'll reiterate that when I start Words of Radiance in a few weeks. But if you're going to continue on and you want more of my thoughts, just know that from this point on, there will be spoilers. So click away, because I'm about to say something. Okay, you're either gone or you're here. I just love Dalinar and Nirvana so much. Oh my god. I am so obsessed with them. And then the way the story linked up between the two, Kaladin and Dalinar, and how those worlds collided. I felt like SpongeBob going, when worlds collide. That is how it felt. I am so, when Sadeas betrays Dalinar, I was shook to the core. I couldn't believe what was happening. I can't believe that Kaladin helped him get out of there, and then the way that Kaladin and his Bridgemen have formed these relationships and connections, and now they're going to be fighting for Dalinar, and he's going to be part of like his personal guard, but then the Shin is going to come and get Dalinar? What am I supposed to do? I am shook to my core. The little part about the Parshmen being the Voidbringers, I did guess that. I'm not saying it was super obvious, or maybe it was, and then I shouldn't feel like... I don't think people should feel bad if they don't connect that, but I think that I noticed. I didn't really know it was going to go down the way it gets revealed, but I had a feeling that, like, there was something with the Voidbringers and the Parshmen. I had a vibe, and I still think it went so well. So those were my spoilery little screams and gasps and thoughts. I will see you when I start Words of Radiance. Hi friends, I just wanted to come do a really quick outro for you. Thank you so much for watching this vlog. Please don't forget that I'm going to be continuing discussing the series in the upcoming weeks. So Words of Radiance is what I am working on right now. So like this video and subscribe if you want to see more of this series and other content from me. And I will see you next week with my next one.